around us. And like I said, wood chips are some of my favorite materials to use because they're often in abundance. And if you live in the city, there's a service called Chip Drop that will dump a whole dump truck full of wood chips wherever you want them to, generally in your yard. Now that could be a good thing if you know what to do with them and have somewhere for them to go and a way to move them, and it can be a bad thing if you don't. So you've probably driven by folks that have mountains of wood chips in their driveway, sometimes behind their car, and so they have to figure that out. But if you are needing to mulch, you might know what mulch is. Everybody know what mulch is? So mulch is basically a ground covering that we use to smother out weeds and to also hold moisture in the soil, oftentimes around trees or other plants. So if you have an area that you need to mulch, somewhere that you want to smother out weeds or grass that you don't want, wood chips are an excellent resource for that. And this service called Chip Drop is one that I use all the time to get my brown materials mainly for composting, because I compost year round, and a lot of what we find in these brown bags is around this time of the year, fall, so it's leaves that people have gathered. So here we go. These are our brown materials. We'll use a bunch of those to build our pile. And here we have green materials. So remember I told you what the main green material was? Anybody remember that? Food scraps. Some of y'all were paying good attention to this. So food scraps, something we all produce every single day if we cook. Any cooks? Any foodies? Any people who prepare food? So you end up with extra stuff that you can't put in the pan or the pot. What do you do with that? Throw it in the trash, right? Or you're finished and you got that, salad you just couldn't eat. Maybe you put it in the refrigerator, think you're gonna eat it later, and come back a few days and it's turned into a moldy mess. That gets tossed as well, right? So where does that end up? Where does that end up? What is the trash? What does that stuff that we toss in the trash go? To the landfill. Did y'all visit the landfill as part of this? Y'all should at some point. That would be a good trip to see where your trash actually goes, right? We just send it away, but where the hell is away? It's in the landfill. And what happens in the landfill is it gets buried, it gets covered, and when biological organic materials get buried and covered, oftentimes there's a lack of oxygen, and what happens is it goes anaerobic. Aerobic means oxygen, and when you put that in front means without. Anaerobic, and the microorganisms that thrive in an anaerobic environment, guess what they produce?
Methane.
Y'all already know. Y'all have studied this. I appreciate that.
And most landfills are in poor areas.
Most landfills are in poor areas. That's a whole nother conversation.
I know.
Yeah.
In some countries, they burn it.
They burn it.
Which is worse.
Even worse.
Yeah,
right?
pollution.
Releasing all of that carbon back into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's partially why, we got 80-degree weather in November. Even though it's been chill for these past few days, it might be up to 75 by the end of the week. I don't know. I haven't looked at the weather. This new world weather, right? So anyway, that is another reason why we compost, and I know that's especially meaningful to you all who are part of the sustainability movement, because we want to keep that methane, which I think is 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide, something crazy like that. As far as a greenhouse gas, we want to keep that out of the atmosphere, and the way that we can do that is by not adding to the organic material that is decomposing in the landfill. So we put it to better use and keep it out of the atmosphere, lock it back down into the soil. So this is some kitchen scraps. Anybody tell what that is? Looks like pumpkin seeds, probably from Halloween. Somebody got that or something like that, right? There's some lettuce in here. So just kitchen scraps, apple cores, banana peels, orange. I saw that some people had thrown away their orange peels and banana peels. I snatched those out of the trash and put them in a bucket. they're going to go into our compost.
I like that your bag is compostable too.
Actually, it is.
I like
We'll
that,
get to that.
yeah.
We'll get to that as well. So, these are some green materials as well. We'll add those to the brown in the right ratio, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And I just picked these up from another local farm, Truly Living Well, which is the farm Michelle mentioned, which is in the West End. It was started by a man named Rashid Nouri 20-something years ago, and still exists to this day. And part of their offering is a place called the Community Composting Lab. And I was able to run that for about 3 years, between 2021 and 2024. And we were composting up to about 10,000 pounds of material every week, so greens and browns. And they still get a lot of these collard green coals from, beautiful, right?
Yeah.
From the municipal market, which is kind of like a farmer's market downtown. Y'all should check it out sometime. Great place. And they sell cut collards, because a lot of times people these days don't want to go through the hassle of actually cutting their collards. So folks at the municipal market cut them up and end up with all of these what we call coals, which still is not a good usable material in it, but they're moving at high speed. But also, there's these stems and stalks and just generally parts and pieces that folks don't necessarily want to deal with. So they send bags and bags of this over to True Living Well. They mix it with wood chips. So I went over there and snatched up a bag for myself today so I could do this demonstration for you all. So this is another example of green materials that we will build our pound.
Question. So,
Question.
concerning the stems, like, do you need to cut it, make it smaller, or just like that?
Great question. Great question. Great question. So in composting, there are several ways that we can speed up the process. So remember what I told you is actually doing the composting? Everybody remember? The decomposers?
The micro.
Yes.
The microbes, right? So microbes, what does that word even mean? Microbes. Micro. What does micro mean?
Small.
Tiny. You can't see them without the help of some artificial device, microscope or magnifying glass. Really a microscope, not a magnifying glass, but so they're so small. And being that they're so small, the smaller the material that we can give them to eat,
The easier.
the easier it's going to be for them to glom onto it and start to break it down. So the tinier we can actually make the material, either by cutting it, or a great solution that I found is putting my material in a freezer. When you freeze it, the cells actually freeze, and when they thaw, they pretty much explode. I think they explode when they freeze, because when stuff freezes, doesn't it expand?
Yeah,
Yes.
expand.
Right? So when it thaws, it's already broken down, and so it decomposes a lot quicker, and the microorganisms can really get to it and break it down. So that's another way. So you can manually do it physically by cutting it up as small as possible, or what I like to do, because I'm kind of lazy, is just freeze it.
Yeah.
And then when it thaws, it automatically just turns into mush. So great question.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.